Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuhu. In Judaism and in Islam, it is customary to bury the deceased the day after death. This is to limit the mourning period, to understand that it's over and we have to move on. That's the tradition, and it's been like that for a very long time. Other religions don't necessarily do it that way. The question of mourning and the question of sadness is particularly uh, relevant to humanity. Elon Musk said that one of the great failings in Western civilization is overwrought empathy. Empathy that has gotten out of hand. Empathy where you feel so much for others that you lose touch with the reality of the situation. Yet, on the other hand, without empathy, you have emptiness and you don't have real connection between people. So there's a balancing act here, a balancing act between too much empathy and not enough empathy. For instance, empathy for people who are evil is of no consequence and of no good. And that empathy only leads to destruction. Empathy for those who need help, on the other hand, is a very positive attitude that brings about healing. It's important that we are amongst those who help bring about healing. But empathy alone is not going to heal. Desire alone is not going to heal. Relationships don't heal unless all the parties within the relationship wish to resolve it. If some are reluctant to resolve it, it's just going to remain that way. But to stress the need to resolve it when one party doesn't want to resolve leads to frustration and leads to more sadness and makes that certain thing a very important part of your life. So, what we need to do is minimize that which makes us sad. We need to minimize it in that we make it smaller. We make it smaller by giving it less of our time mentally. We give it less of our time mentally by not thinking about it. As we think about it, it takes over the space in our mind. And that which takes over the space in our mind is what we react with and what we react to. So if there's a certain thing that brings us sadness and we keep thinking about it, it's going to bring more sadness and more sadness. And that's the nature of what it does. It is very, very important that we, each of us, stay positive in our reaction to the world. If someone doesn't want to interact with us, if someone doesn't want to allow us to be part of their life or to embrace them, then so be it. When the time comes for the embrace to happen, the embrace will be ready and that person will be ready. But until then, you can't force these things. You can't force a smile. You can't force love. You can't force justice. You can't force contentment. These things have to come. Now, usually, when a person is unavailable through empathy or unavailable, period, to other people, it's because they're suffering from some kind of internal conflict. What I've found as I meet more and more people is everyone suffers. Not everyone thinks everyone suffers, but everyone suffers. Everyone has something within them that's constantly in turmoil. And it is within us to be able to react to this turmoil and become rid of it. That's part of the work. The turmoil within us has to be released. The turmoil within us has to be forgotten. The turmoil within us has to be done away with. And how do you do away with the turmoil? You surrender it. Everything must be surrendered. Everything, including sadness, must be surrendered. Sometimes we think that sadness is a positive thing because we are feeling empathy for a certain situation, and that empathy shows our kindness and our humanity. But it's not true. It's false humanity. It's false kindness. It's a false understanding. It's an understanding that if things are not going right, we somehow blame ourselves. And it's in that blame that the sadness comes. We're sad because things aren't going the way we want them to go. And things don't always go the way we want them to go. In surrender, there is the acknowledgement that that which is difficult must be let go of. In surrender, everything eventually is let go of, and we understand the trivial nature of it. If two people aren't talking, they may go years before they talk again. But when they talk again, it's like they never stop talking. So we have to have the patience to wait for that to occur. We have to have the patience to wash whatever it is, turmoil that separates us from others, gets separated from its self. Those who hold on to the trivial in their life will constantly have sadness, will constantly have situations wherein they are brought to situations that are difficult for them to handle. The mind wants everything to be a certain way. We've decided how things should be and how things should go. And we've decided they should go in a certain way. When they don't go in that way, we become some sort of reactionary. We either get angry, we either get sad, we get mad, but we don't become content. The question is, how can you take sadness and turn it into contentment? Because it is our nature to be content. It is our nature to be serene. It is our nature to overcome these things and enter into states of grace that are acceptable to our Lord. When we are sad, we are not in the flow of humanity. When we are sad, we are not in the positive nature of existence. When we are sad, we are contradicting all that is around us. Because the world is not sad. The world's in turmoil, but it's not sad. And the reality is never sad. Reality is. And sadness keeps you from reality. So we must understand that in reality, there is no sadness. There is just God. And God is omnipotent. God is ever resourceful. God is positive. God is the one and only one who brings about the truth. And sadness is not the truth. Sadness is a lie. And we hold on to this lie because that sadness somehow makes us feel closer to that person we're sad about. So we hold on to it because at least it brings about some kind of relationship with the thing that we're sad about. So we hold on to the sadness. We hold on to the sadness for lots of reasons, but one of them is to maintain the relationship with what we think we're losing. At least we can be sad about it as opposed to giving it up. But in truth, what we need to do is give it up. Not release ourselves from it entirely, but release our emotional self from it. Our emotional self can't be running around attaching itself to everything and making constant judgments of sadness and or happiness. The external world should not be that which determines our sadness or our happiness. We have to create within us a center of God-fearing self. We have to create within us a center of reality. We have to create within us a center of contentment where Allah can reside. So in our hearts, in order to allow Allah to come into our heart has to be content. If our heart is not content, it doesn't want Allah in it. If our heart is not serene, it doesn't want Allah in it. And it is imperative for each of us to allow Allah into ourselves. And it's in this release of sadness, release of joy, release of the emotional world that flutters all around us in this physical world that we find contentment. As long as we can find contentment, we will be in an appropriate place. But the world is not content. The world is in turmoil. And the world is also incredibly magnetic. It pulls you towards it. The earth in the world pulls the earth towards it. The water in the world pulls the water in you towards it. The air in you towards it. The fire in you towards it. So you interact with the elemental in a way that keeps you from finding truth. The elemental can never find the truth because the elemental is merely a temporary manifestation made to carry on creation so that there is a place for the soul to live within creation and to learn the truth of creation. To learn the truth of creation is a major understanding in our lives. We need to learn why we are here and what our purpose is. Why did we come here? Who put us here? Why did they put us here? Well, God put us here for a certain number of reasons. One, he did it out of his mercy. He allowed us to understand this life, and through understanding this life, begin to understand the difference between right and wrong. He gave us this life so that we could become more attuned to reality. As we grow in reality, we let go of all of the trivial things in our life. And we have to understand what is and what isn't trivial. In the end, everything is trivial because in the end, everything is taken from us. But in the interim, while we still have strength, while we still have health, we have all of this interaction with the trivial. And this interaction with the trivial takes us often to dangerous places, to places that we are not meant to be, dangerous places that take us to self-medication, dangerous places that put us with people who are not an asset of our being. For instance, people who are sad, people who are abused, often turn to alcohol. The alcohol numbs the pain, but in numbing the pain, the person doing the drinking becomes an alcoholic. And becoming an alcoholic is a whole other set of problems that they bring about because of self-medication. We just went through a crisis in this country with opioids and people taking opioids because of pain, and then that growing into addictions and being unable to get rid of the addictions. Everything has its downfall. Everything has its other side. When you're young, eating sugar is a treat, and eating candy is a joy, but in the background is diabetes and what that is going to bring on to you if you do too much of that. Everything must be done in moderation. And when sadness overwhelms you, moderation is gone. And when moderation goes, then you've lost sight of truth. You've lost sight of reality. You've lost sight of who you are. You become fixated on that sadness. We have to be very careful that we don't become fixated on anything. There's only one thing to be fixated on, and that's God. We have to learn how to surrender to Him and take every situation to Him. So if we're sad, we have to say, God, help me with this sadness. These emotional outbursts that I have are difficult for me to control, but God, all is in your hands. Allow me to control them. Allow me to put them underneath me as opposed to being over me and keeping me as a burden. It's like that we have to continue to move forward. There is no stopping. And we can't let all of these things come in our way on the path that we're on. Satan's intent is to throw us off our path. And one of the ways he does that is through sadness. One of the ways he does that is through anger. One of the major ways he does that is through arrogance. He gives us the thought patterns that create arrogance. He gives us the thought patterns that create sadness and create anger and create jealousy. You can't walk around being jealous and being content at the same time. You can't walk around being hasty and being content at the same time. You can't walk around being vicious and being content at the same time. You can't be someone who stabs people in the back and be content at the same time. You develop a personality that is abhorrent and that is dangerous to others and to yourself. What we need to realize is that everything we do comes back to us. So if we are jealous of others, others become jealous of us. If we are mean to others, others become mean to us. If we treat others badly, others will treat us badly. Someone asked me once, why aren't I loved more? And I said, because you're not lovely enough. You need to be lovely. You need to love. You cannot have the fear that comes with putting yourself out there. Dating is a perfect example. People are afraid to go on dates. Men are afraid to ask women because they think they'll be turned down. Women are afraid because they don't know the personality of the man asking them. The whole situation is rather difficult. But if you know each other a little bit, if you know your backgrounds, you know the families, it becomes much easier. These things are all difficult. You have to be very fortunate to be within a loving, content environment. You have to be very fortunate to have a wife or a husband who is supportive and who adores you and will do whatever is needed to assist you and keep you going the way you need to be going. It's an amazing thing. And having that kind of relationship allows love to grow. And if you don't have a spouse, you can develop that relationship with God. God is there for you as your spouse. God is there for you as the one who keeps you straight. God is there for you as the one who can solve all your problems and can do this easily if you let him. Our arrogance thinks that we can do this ourselves. So as opposed to allowing the one who can do everything do it, we decide we're going to take it on. And this is a kind of silliness wrapped up in arrogance, wrapped up in self-determination that we think we have. We somehow think we're only free if we make the decisions. We're only free if we decide what's next and what's going on. To go out there and be floating within the milieu of the atmosphere, the milieu of what's going on in our lives right now, the milieu of the world, to be able to go into it without opinion and without strong ideas is very difficult. It's difficult for men not to have ideas. It's difficult for men not to think that they know the answers to things. It's difficult for men to understand that they are without power and that all power is with God. All power is with Him alone. He is the highest. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallahi walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallahu wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi wa huwa al-aliyyul azim. God is the highest. God is the most merciful. God is the one who knows everything, and God can guide us correctly. God can guide us more correctly than anyone else can guide us. God can guide us more correctly than the sheikh can guide us, because a true sheikh is being guided by God to guide you at the same time. And so it goes. We need to be guided. We are born into this world without knowledge and without any understanding of the way the world works. Slowly, we begin to learn how the world works. But it's dependent on our parents and on our teachers to teach us correctly how the world works, as opposed to teaching us incorrectly and teaching us the qualities that are not human, teaching us the qualities that are satanic. If you're born into a family of wealth, you may be told from the time that you're small that the only thing that matters in life is wealth. And they are constantly doing what's necessary to maintain their wealth and to pass their wealth on within the family. Others think fame is what drives life. And so they raise their children with the idea that they need to become famous. Others think education is the key to existence. So the parents do all they can to send their kids to the appropriate schools, even though it costs an enormous amount of money. All of these things have their place and have their time. There's no question that you need funds in order to survive. There's no question that you have to have a relationship with others in order to survive. There's no question that you need to be educated in order to be successful within the world. And there's no question that you need to be successful to a degree. But that success is not the ultimate success. Success in the world is not success in reality. Success in the world is success within the trivial. and the trivial is overwhelming. If you have traveled around the world, whatever society you go into, you'll notice they have different trivia, and that trivia becomes all important in their lives. We have to learn to be able to separate the trivial from the truth. Children sometimes rebel against us. Parents sometimes rebel against us. Relatives sometimes rebel against us. Friends rebel against us. We don't know why, and we don't know who made it happen that way. But when it happens, we have to be very careful. We can't go too near to toxic situations and expect that those toxic situations don't cause us problems. Toxicity burns. And if we allow ourselves to step into toxic situations, we will be burned. And these burns take years to heal. This isn't something that just goes away overnight. It's similar to having your flesh cut. It's a wound, and the wound takes time to be healed. But if you don't enter into the situation, the toxicity won't come near you. But if you continue to push towards that toxicity, if you continue to insist that that toxicity somehow changes and becomes love, you're in for a very long run, sometimes without a lot of success. We can't force people to love. In essence, we can't force people to do anything. The world has tried to force people to do things forever. And what happens? We end up in wars. Everybody wants everybody to be this religion. If you don't do it, we go to war. Everybody wants everybody to be this political party. If you don't do it, you go to war. Everybody wants a certain kind of attitude towards existence. If you won't do it, we go to war. So it's like that we run out of options. We run out of places where we can go. So what we have to do is hide. We have to hide from the world. We have to hide from all of the toxic elements in the world. We have to hide from all of the jealousy and the vengeance and the hate. We have to remove ourselves from these situations. And you'll find that when you remove yourself from these situations, you have less to bother you and you have more to be content with. And becoming content is our object. Becoming serene is our object. If we are content and serene, God can take us with him because he is content and serene. If we want to join God, we have to become like God. And if we're not like God, we're not going to join God. We're going to join the demons. But we don't know who the demons are, and we sometimes get confused. And the confusion is that man believes the demons are God, when in fact they're uh, they're from the devil, and they come from Satan. They're Satan's friends. They're not our friends. We need to know who our friends are and who our friends aren't. Now, the same person can be our friend and our enemy simultaneously. If they have the right qualities, they can be our friends. If those qualities change, they become our enemies. And what is it that makes them change? Well, all people have needs, and you don't know what their needs are. And sometimes they look to you to fulfill those needs. And since you don't know what they are, you don't know how to fulfill them. That makes them angry. And if they have difficulty communicating, they never tell you what you didn't fulfill. They never tell you what happened that caused the situation the way it is. And how are you supposed to know? You can't know. So relieve yourself of the anxiety of being involved in this situation. Give up the empathy towards that situation and wait. Patience is the umbrella of God's throne, and patience allows things to pass so that you can come to the position where contentment is available to you. You can come to the position where you can align yourself with God's qualities because you've gotten rid of the things that aren't God's qualities. And don't kid yourself. Sadness is not one of God's qualities. So if we want to be with God, we must get rid of the sadness. Now, we hold on to the sadness because of in our minds, it creates a connection to the one that we're sad about. And we continue to obsess about that because we want that resolved. And we're not going to resolve it. God will resolve it. Time will resolve it. The other person will resolve it. We won't resolve it. So what do we have to do? We have to wait. We have to wait for it to become resolved. If it's important enough, it will become resolved. But this is a slow process. This isn't something that happens overnight. And we need to develop patience. Patience is what's going to carry us through all of the difficulties in our life. If we can stay patient, that means we've surrendered. If we can stay patient, that means we're not trying to force changes in the elemental structure of what's going on around us. We're not trying to force changes in the elemental nature of the world and the elemental nature of ourselves. We're not trying to make the form react in a certain way. Now understand that when you are reacting by way of sadness or anger or jealousy or hatred, that's not your soul. That's your elemental self that's doing that reaction. We have to let go of the elemental self. As we let go of the elemental self and become pure, then we can wait forever because time is not of the essence. Time doesn't exist in that place. It just is. And we can be there with it. And as we are there with it, then we can see the truth of what the situation is. And we can understand what happened that caused this rift between people. We can understand how it occurred, where it occurred, what made it happen, and what can be done in order to rectify it. But still, it takes two to bring about resolution. And if one doesn't want to resolve things, then they're not going to be resolved. And we have to be able to walk away, smile, be patient, and wait. We can't be full of remorse and rebuke those who we can't get along with. They're just not our situation. We have to get out of the situation. We have to be left alone from the situation. We have to become free of all of these attachments that bring us in the wrong direction. We have to be free of all of these attachments that take us to qualities that are other than godly. All of the satanic qualities have to be rid of. We have to be rid of jealousy, hatred, vengeance. All of these things must go from us. We must be rid of all of our trivial pursuits in the world because the trivia that we absorb ourselves in pulls us away from the truth. We need to focus on God, keep God at the forefront of our thoughts. Every time we do anything, we have to ask God for help. Every time something happens, we have to thank God for being helped. We have to be in constant contact with our Lord. Talk to Him. He wants you to interact with Him. He wants you to be with Him at all times. He created you to come to know you, and He created you to come to know Him. God is the mystery in man, and man is the mystery in God. And it's the unfolding of this mystery that's going to take us to the true path and to reality. It's going to be done through our effort, but it's going to be done mostly by way of God's grace. We have to understand that all of these happen through God's grace. So we have to ask God, please grace us with the ability to overcome the trivial nature in our lives. Please grace us, O God, to overcome the sadness in our lives. Please grace us, O God, to become content and to become serene in and within you, to know that the truth is you, that you are the only truth, and it is through you alone that we are going to reach reality. Pray this prayer constantly. Ask this prayer constantly. God, help me. God, help me. God, help me know the truth. God, help me know the way. You alone are the one who can help me. No one else can solve my problems. It's all in your hands. If we can truly feel that way and truly give up to God, solutions will come and we will end up in the light, in contentment, and in serenity. May it be so for each and every one of us. Amen.